Now let's be real for a second. You've all read the title of the video, so we all know what's coming up. No introduction needed.
We're getting close. Today, this car is going to get its first test drive. That's right, the day has finally come where this car is going to get driven. But as usual, there are a few minor things to sort out first. Like finding a place to put my bum. And putting batteries in it. As well as something to do with this. So, beginning with batteries. All of this stuff was pretty much done in the last episode. Except now I have this extra cable with a battery terminal on it. And this is because originally the battery would have been under the passenger seat. But in this car, that dog just ain't gonna hunt. So this means that both batteries are gonna go in the back. Right there. Temporarily, the grounds are going to go a little something like this. And that's mostly because the position of these batteries is not really fully defined just yet. However, this will be the positive terminal for this battery at the back, and this one will be the one at the front. Why is this autofocus being such a nightmare? I don't know if that's worked. Anyway, this is the positive terminal for this front battery, and this one's for the one at the back. So with these batteries now able to do stuff, it brings me on nicely to this weird contraption. This is the steering column from the Touareg, full of electrical goodies. And the main electrical goodie we're going to be looking at today is this one. This one is basically the steering column's KESI module, and the car will not start without it. And rather than install this entire behemoth of a steering column, I'm going to do this. Remove that module and hide it somewhere in the car. But removing that little module in itself has its own host of horrible things, mainly because European car security. And here are the things that stop it. Basically, there are shear bolts all over this thing. And if you don't know what a shear bolt is, it's basically something that you tighten off until it snaps so you can't undo it. And then there's this hole here. This is an access hole for a bolt. And when this module is locked, or doesn't have any power going to it, it closes and you can't access the bolt. So step one in this is get this thing to unlock itself by plugging it in using those batteries we just played with, and then undo that little screw inside. Then I can worry about these shear bolts after, because those are relatively easy by comparison. So, step whatever this is in getting this thing off the steering column, plug it in. And we can now connect the batteries and hope that it doesn't explode, seeing as I've done a lot of wiring since the last time they were connected. Now lastly, if I put the key in the ignition, it's now hopefully unlocked, and if I stick my bulbous head in there, hooray, I can now see the head of a bolt. But you can't. Yes, you can. There it is. For the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to turn this off again, so you can see what happens otherwise.
Oh, you can't?
Tricky bit done. You might have noticed that I drilled that bit out, but that was mostly because this 1/4 inch bit wouldn't actually fit in there with the original hole. Anyway, shear bolts. Now I think shear bolts are a bit stupid. They don't really stop your car from getting stolen, because if someone's determined enough they can get them out anyway, and all they do is cause extra steps for people who are actually trying to take them off in a legitimate way. Like this, for example. And starting with these two, there's no real way to get them off aside from brute force and amateur tactics. The only saving grace on these is they're actually incredibly loose. Famous last words, because I haven't done the big ones yet. These are the big ones. They're in a much more awkward place, so I might not be able to get these on with any good leverage. So I might have to resort to more Neanderthal tactics. So that worked fine, but it's one of those things where the bolt is loose, but it's annoyingly too tight to use by hand. So I'm going to have to keep chasing it around with the chisel until it comes out. I just flipped it around. It turns out the other one's actually in a really easy spot. So out come the vice grips again. So with any luck now, rather than having to fit that entire behemoth of a steering column, I only need to hide this somewhere. And that'll go almost anywhere. I mean, there's literally heaps of room for modules under here, so I'll just, chuck it in there. Testing. Because it wouldn't make sense to mount all this stuff and then find out my car doesn't start because of one silly module not having a thing in it. So with this plugged in, if I can get the engine to crank, then we're winning. I don't think it'll start because there's no fuel tank in it, but it should crank nonetheless. Oh, it did start a little bit. But it cranked. That means that all the security measures have been bypassed where they need to be. I did actually see this, which is kind of cute. This is the only thing that module does. I think this is something to do with your steering lock. But when you turn the key and the Kessie's done its thing and authenticated all your modules, it unlocks, and then when you pull the key out, it locks again. I bet I can make it do something else later. Now the time has finally come for this. Excuse the blood-filled rag. Now this part, sadly, is not the driver's side, because we're not Americans here. But this is completely finished. And this means that I can exchange this blood-soaked rag for this. Yes. So let's continue as we plan to go on. Now, shocking revelation time. I make mistakes. And this mistake was connecting my power steering pump with the hoses on backwards. It's somewhere down there, but it turns out the Touareg is the opposite of the Patrol in terms of hooking up those lines. Here's how I found that out. Also, did you know, if I make a 20-minute long video and I use 10 seconds of a song that doesn't belong to me, 55% of my revenue goes to whoever the bloody hell that is. Doesn't seem fair to me. Sadly, that means no more Murder, She Wrote theme tune. But I'm a rebel without a cause. So, montage time.
Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Wop 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 wop. Meow 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 meow. Whip 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 whip. Burp 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 burp. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow.
Now you can blame YouTube's music copyright flagging system for that. Now in the last episode, you might remember that I fitted my throttle pedal. Clearly, I didn't. And this is because my CNC plasma cutter decided to break and make all manner of weird shapes, which meant that I couldn't make the bracket for this. That means I lied. Anyway, that's fixed now, so I can cut things, and then fit this. So allow me to give you a rundown of my wondrous bracket. And I hope you're happy because my tripod is now a glove. So this bracket here is the one that has to have my throttle pedal on it. Get out of here, you. And my bracket is in two pieces. One of them is a spacer, the other one is the bracket thing. And that's going to mount with one bolt, something like this. Now maybe you noticed this weird little nubbin on the side. That's supposed to contact with this little throttle button here, so that when you push the throttle, it'll contact on that button and do whatever that button's supposed to do. And I can now just bolt the pedal up to it. I bet that was truly thrilling for you. Anyway, you've been quite patient, and that means you deserve a reward, because I've got a lot of computer stuff left to do to this car. And it's probably advisable to have my car charging while I'm doing all this computer stuff, because low voltage on these sort of ECUs can flag up a lot of problems. Now the car is there, and the plug socket is over there. So before I do all my computer stuff, all I'm going to do is drive that car from there to there. So I've put my still filthy driver's seat in, because I am still filthy, and I would rather not clean the seat and then fuck it up again. So let's make some noise. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? The rest of the stuff involves computer things. And there's my computer sitting on what is definitely a table. And this is where expensive overpriced cable number 1 comes into play. Now this cable is your standard VCDS cable, and that basically means stuff for talking to Volkswagens. And that cable specializes in talking to stuff like the modules rather than the ECUs. It'll still talk to it, but it's better at doing these and linking them together. And then following on from that is my ECU talking to tool. But that comes later. Now this is going to get annoying because my fans have decided they like being on all the time. But I can hopefully fix that with this software. This is not going to be a good montage, so I'm not going to do one. It's finally time.
Oh, first passenger.
Yeah, literally. Hope it doesn't do that weird thing where it's like not going to start again. Jeez. Beauty.
She pull good?
Not really, but you know, it's like a two-hand job to get it into gear because I've got to do the what do you call it? Those noises though.
Yeah.
How rude are we feeling? I might just go down the road and what do you reckon?
I don't think anybody will be around. All those patrol officers before.
Yeah, I know. It's like 10 cops, right? I'm pushing my luck a bit.